In the chaos of a late afternoon traffic jam, a frantic dog darted between cars, barking, blocking the path of a luxury sedan. The driver, a well-dressed businessman with no time for distractions, had no idea his life was about to change. Because this dog wasn't lost, he was begging for help. The heat shimmered above the asphalt like a mirage, and the horns of impatient drivers echoed through the late afternoon haze. It was one of those days when the city felt too full, of people, of noise, of stress. Daniel pressed his hand to the steering wheel, watching the red light that had refused to turn green for what felt like forever. He checked his watch again. Late. For the third time that week. The meeting was supposed to close a deal worth 6 figures. No room for mistakes. Then came the barking. It pierced through the hum of engines. Desperate, sharp, insistent. A blur of fur and motion appeared ahead. A dog, thin and wild-eyed, darted through traffic, stopping right in front of Daniel's luxury sedan. At first he thought it was random, another stray, another city ghost. But this dog didn't move. It looked straight into his eyes and barked again, louder. Then it lay down, right there in front of the car. Daniel's jaw clenched. He honked. The dog stayed. If you believe that not all encounters are coincidences, this story is for you. And if you want to see more real, powerful stories like this one, hit like and subscribe. It really helps us keep going. The barking didn't stop. Drivers behind Daniel leaned on their horns, angry that he wasn't moving. He opened the door and stepped out, slamming it behind him. The heat hit him like a wall. The dog stood up quickly, backing away a few steps, but didn't run. Its ribs showed beneath the dirt-matted fur, and its paws looked raw from too much pavement. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Daniel muttered. The dog tilted its head, watching him. Then it turned and barked again, one sharp sound, like a command. Daniel followed it with his eyes as it trotted to the sidewalk and paused. It looked back, waiting. He should have gotten back in the car. He should have called animal control. He should have done anything but what he did next. He followed. The dog broke into a run, tail low, weaving through narrow streets, alleys filled with dumpsters and graffiti. Daniel cursed under his breath, shoes clicking against the concrete, phone still in his hand. They turned a corner. The dog stopped at a rusty gate, pushed it open with its snout and disappeared inside. Daniel hesitated. Then he heard it, a sound faint and fragile, almost drowned out by the city noise. A baby crying. Daniel pushed the gate open and stepped inside. The noise of the city faded behind him. In its place, only silence and that soft, desperate cry. He stood in the middle of a forgotten courtyard, surrounded by crumbling brick walls and overgrown weeds. The dog stood still ahead, tail low, ears perked. It turned to look at him once more, then trotted toward a shadowed doorway. Daniel moved closer, his steps careful now. Inside, the air was heavy. Dust floated in the dim light that seeped through a crack in the roof. And then he saw them, a woman, slumped against the wall, pale, motionless, and in her arms a baby, no older than 6 months, wrapped in a thin, dirty blanket, crying. The dog paced around them, whining. Daniel's heart slammed against his chest. He dropped to his knees, checked for a pulse. The woman was alive, barely, dehydrated, weak. The baby, too. Hungry, exhausted. He fumbled for his phone and dialed emergency services with shaking fingers. As he gave the address, his eyes met the dog's. It sat nearby, watching, quiet now, alert, like it had done its job. The paramedics arrived within minutes, their sirens slicing through the silence like a scream. Daniel stood aside, still gripping his phone, as the responders rushed into the building. They worked quickly. Saline for the woman, oxygen for the baby, soft murmurs of reassurance. The dog didn't move, even as the gurney rolled past, even as strangers swarmed the scene. The dog stayed by her side, protective, alert, eyes fixed on the woman's pale face. One of the paramedics turned to Daniel. "You found them?" "No," he said, voice low. "The dog did." The paramedic paused, glancing down. "That mutt might have saved their lives." Daniel stepped outside as they loaded the gurney into the ambulance. The baby had stopped crying. The woman's chest rose and fell steadily now. Then came a soft voice, raspy, barely audible from the stretcher. "Where? Bravo?" The dog's ears perked. He tried to jump into the ambulance, but one of the medics held him back. "Easy, boy," someone said. The woman's eyes opened slightly. "Don't leave him." He found help. He didn't leave. Her hand reached weakly toward the dog before she faded back into unconsciousness. Daniel felt something shift inside him. At the hospital, Daniel stayed. He had no real reason to, no obligation, no connection, but something about the way the dog, Bravo, had stared into his eyes and pleaded for help. It wouldn't leave his mind. He sat in the waiting room for hours. The dog curled at his feet, too tired to pace, too loyal to rest fully. A nurse finally approached. "She's stable now. Her name's Anna. She's been homeless for a few months, lost her job, then her apartment. She refused shelters because they wouldn't let her keep the dog." Daniel looked down at Bravo. The dog's eyes were still locked on the corridor, waiting. She said he never left her side, through everything. And when she collapsed, he tried for hours to get someone's attention. Daniel's throat tightened. Another nurse came with a small bowl of food and water. Bravo ate slowly, glancing toward the hallway every few seconds. And when the doctor finally said Anna was awake, Daniel watched as Bravo was allowed into the room. The moment she saw him, Anna broke into tears. She pulled him close, whispering, "Good boy, you didn't give up on me." The entire staff stood in silence, some with tears in their eyes. Sometimes a single bark carries the weight of a scream for help, and sometimes the only one who hears it is the one the world ignores. If this story touched your heart so far, tell us in the comments and subscribe. We post stories like this every day. Days passed. Anna and her baby recovered slowly, gaining strength. Daniel visited more than once, always saying it was just to check. But it wasn't just that. Something about the whole experience had stirred something dormant in him. He brought clothes, diapers, even asked a friend who worked in HR if there were any openings at his firm. Anna, once skeptical, finally accepted a warm meal without apology. Bravo never left her side. But now, instead of barking with desperation, he walked calmly by her wheelchair, tail wagging. A guardian, no longer alone in his fight. One afternoon, Daniel arrived with a small envelope in hand. "I made some calls," he said. "There's a temporary apartment across town. They accept pets. I already covered the first 3 months." Anna stared at him, eyes wide. "Why would you do that?" Daniel hesitated. "Because someone did for me, even if they didn't know it." He looked down at Bravo. Anna smiled, the first genuine one since that night. "I named him Bravo because he was brave when I couldn't be." Daniel knelt beside the dog, who leaned into his touch without hesitation this time. "And he reminded me," Daniel said softly, "that sometimes you don't need words to save someone." The three of them left the hospital together, not as strangers anymore, but as something new. A man learning to care, a woman getting her life back, and a dog who refused to give up. In the weeks that followed, people in the neighborhood started noticing them. A woman with gentle eyes, a baby in her arms, and a proud black dog walking by her side. Sometimes a man in a suit would join them, a little stiff at first, unsure of where he belonged in this new world, but always carrying something, groceries, toys, or simply his time. They weren't a family by blood, but something had bonded them deeper than most ties ever could. A bark in the middle of traffic, a man who chose to listen, just once. A second chance, because in a city that never stops, most people would have driven on, most would have ignored the desperate eyes, the cries, the need. But not Daniel, and certainly not Bravo. The dog no one saw, the hero no one expected. Sometimes, the most overlooked among us are the ones who carry the loudest truth. Share this story with someone who believes that every life has a purpose. And tell me in the comments, Why do you think Bravo did what he did? If this story moved you, consider liking and subscribing. We share stories like this every day, and every click helps us keep telling them.